Okay, so we're going to be talking politics in this video.
Xbox, Twitter, Uber,
Postmates,
Netflix, MoviePass,
Google,
eBay,
DoorDash,
Apple, Amazon, Airbnb,
The Apptrepreneur. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and yeah, we're going to be talking about politics. And yes, we're going to be talking about a Democratic politician again. I'm sorry. I wish Trump was talking about rideshare more often. He's not. I can't really discuss something that isn't even there. Although, before we even head into this one, I just want to put like a little side note because people keep bringing it up every time I make one of these videos. I don't for a second believe Trump has our best interests at heart either. I don't believe a lot of the Democrats have any of the rideshare drivers' best interests at heart. I don't believe Trump has our best interests at heart. I think we are effectively on our own for at least another 4 years. And yet, there are politicians out there that are making really big claims, and we got to talk about them. However, before we do, let's have a word from our sponsors.
If you have rideshare insurance, you know what a disaster it is. It's super expensive. Some guys are paying over $100 a month for it on top of their regular insurance. So we're working with an insurance company to help lower prices and get better coverage. They're working on a plan where Uber and Lyft drivers will either pay by the mile or by the hour. You'll only pay for what you use, but we need some information from you, the drivers. We need to know on average how far and how long you drive with Uber and Lyft each week. So would you click on the link below in the description and take just 5 minutes to fill out the survey? We'd really appreciate it.
So, Pete Buttigieg. I know that's not how you pronounce it, but again, I am purposefully messing it up to be an insult. Buttigieg unveils plans to protect gig economy workers and boost unionization. This should be a good one. So, by the way, side note, he's a pretty good-looking guy. I mean, if he was maybe a smarter man, I could see him being like a rising star in the Democratic Party. So, Democratic presidential contender Pete Buttigieg unveiled proposals on Friday to boost union membership and protect workers in the so-called gig economy. Quote, "Our economy is changing. How we manage the changes coming our way will define not just the next 4 years, but the next century," he wrote in an email to supporters announcing plan which the campaign is calling a new rising tide. The plan aims squarely at major tech platforms like Alphabet's Google and the ride-hailing companies Uber and Lyft. Buttigieg also called out fast food giant McDonald's, which he holds up as an example of a company that keeps, quote, wages low by refusing to bargain with workers who technically work for small local McDonald's franchises. The plan will double the percent of American workers and unions and codify new rules that prevent gig economy employers from classifying many of their workers as independent contractors, forcing them to provide better benefits. Companies like Uber and Lyft would have to meet a high bar known as the ABC test, which we have talked about multiple times on this channel, to classify workers as independent contractors rather than employees. To do so, they would have to show that the employee is free from the employer's control, among other factors. Quote, companies like Google should not be able to hire contractors, from janitors to food service workers to managers to software engineers, that look like employees but who cannot bargain with Google because they technically work for a staffing firm or other intermediaries, the plan says. Google, Lyft, and McDonald's did not provide comment to CNBC, and a statement in Uber spokesperson said, okay, I have to do the Uber voice. What we repeatedly hear from drivers that they value most about Uber is the flexibility to work whenever, wherever, for whom they choose. We believe that independent, on-demand workers should not have to sacrifice security to enjoy that flexibility. So please don't regulate us. That was an awful voice. I am so sorry. I will not do that again. More than 15 million workers, including 10 million independent contractors, 1.4 million temp workers, and 1 million contract firm workers, will have expanded rights and protections according to the campaign. The 37-year-old mayor of South Bend, Indiana, a rising star of the Democratic Party, wrote that his plan will address the stagnant wages that American workers have faced since the 1980s, even as prosperity has risen. And by the way, I do agree with that just a little bit. I mean, I do believe in letting the market correct itself, and I don't believe in 15 an hour. I think just a flat 15 an hour is kind of debunked this idea. But, it is a problem that, particularly where I live, for example, rent has gone up 45% in the last 9 years. And minimum wage hasn't gone up at all. And that's a problem, clearly. It's like there are some issues that do need to be discussed. So I'm at least open to talking about it. But you're going to find out we're going to discuss what my problem with this guy saying it in a moment. So, our economy has been tilted towards the wealthy and away from the middle and working class because the people in power designed our laws and policies that way. That's especially true when it comes to workers of color and women who have historically been undervalued and excluded in the workplace. Emanuel says, a leader of scholar of economic inequality and the director of the Center for Equitable Growth at the University of California, Berkeley, said in an email that he supports the proposed policies, quote, as one important avenue to restore equitable growth. Buttigieg wrote that his policies will allow gig workers to join unions, dramatically increase penalties on large firms that interfere with union elections. So I guess no more paying drivers to show up at rallies and stuff like that. Force companies that hold mandatory anti-union meetings to provide equal time for union supporters and give preferences in federal contracting to unionize business. Personally, this actually sounds like a good piece of legislation in my opinion. This sounds fair. Buttigieg would also establish a national system of paid sick leave. Employers of workers who do not receive at least 7 paid sick leave days would be required to pay the equivalent of 1 hour pay for every 30 hours of work to a maximum of 56 hours into a state fund. The plan also focuses on disparity in pay between men and women and would force large companies to publish data on how much they pay women and men in aggregate. For instance, the campaign notes if a company pays all the men who work for it $100 million and all the women $70 million, the government would report a 30% pay gap. Well, all the gig workers are paid the same sucky wages regardless of sex, so that's not going to be an issue. Unlike other data reporting proposals, the total pay gap does require the government to collect any new information, can be released immediately, and it's a hard game, the proposal says. Companies that employ mostly men or that employ only men in their good-paying jobs will have especially large pay gaps compared to their competitors. Now, I kind of wonder if this works in reverse, because there are some female-only rideshare apps that are coming out. In fact, might even be talking to the CEO of one of them on this channel soon, so keep an eye out for that. And I kind of wonder if that would create some issues. But anyway, what is my problem here? I mean, I kind of like the proposal. Hey, says workers are allowed to try to unionize and equal time has to be given. Maybe the workers won't want to unionize. And of course, Uber and Lyft could, of course, give incentives so that maybe a union would not be worth anyone's time. I have always said I wish Uber and Lyft would have gotten ahead of this problem and just fixed the payment problems early on. So what's my issue here? Well, you might do a little search on this guy on my channel, and you will come with a video where I discussed an article, but Buttigieg held a fundraiser, a couple fundraisers in fact, and Uber and Lyft were at the fundraiser. Big executives at those companies were at the fundraiser. And I believe, I don't know for sure, so if I'm mistaken, this could very well be a mistake. I believe people from like McDonald's and Google were also there. So here's what I see happening, if I am correct. What I see, just from outside observation, of course, is that Buttigieg is saying what he knows voters want to hear, which is what all politicians do, by the way. And he's making a promise that he's going to be fixing these problems. And these problems do need to be fixed. There needs to, at the very least, be a middle ground that we come to. Because, again, where I live, 45% hike in rent in 9 years. I probably won't be here in 2 to 3 years. I'm going to stick around for the nieces and nephews. But once they start getting 12, 13, I think I'm going to be out of here. And I'm going to be sad to leave, but that's just how bad it is. So something needs to happen. I don't trust this guy to do it because he's writing this thing, this plan, so to speak, And it sounds really great on paper, and yet we know at least some of his financial support is coming from the very companies he's going after in this plan. So I don't even trust that this plan would be put into motion. I don't think we will ever see a bill about it, and if we do, it will be severely, severely compromised. And this is why I am an independent. This is why I'm not Republican or Democrat, because honestly, I mean, except for the fact that one is obviously a much, much bigger loudmouth than the other, for lack of a better term, a bit more bolsterous, if you will, there's really no difference. They're both being bought off by corporations. So this is why you really, here's something that I would recommend all rideshare drivers do for the next election in the primaries. I know there's a lot of stuff to read when you get those little information booklets. Look up the presidential candidates you are interested in voting for. Actually, just look at all of them. And look at who has sponsored them. And that will usually tell you a lot about what their plans are if they become president, and if those plans align with what they've been saying they will align with for so long. However, I am now going to leave this all to you to discuss. Please, please, please comment below, flame responsibly, be nice to one another, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly, and you get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. Also, with gas prices the way they are, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, but you get cash back on every gas purchase. If you want to watch more videos from me that are not rideshare related, check out my other YouTube channels, Kevin T. Rodriguez, the Apptrepreneur Vlogs, and Autograph Hound. And finally, if you want to talk to me or other fellow rideshare drivers, check us out at the Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.